Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a little bit of technical analysis on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets based on a question that was posted on yesterday's video. Net Alibaba asks, will we see a $6,200 Bitcoin again after the Tether FUD? Well, that is actually a very, very good question, and in this video, we're going to be discussing that because we saw this major rally come in a couple of days ago after we saw Tether go and jump off the metaphorical cliff. We saw Tether pull all the way down to around 92 cents at its lowest. Luckily, it's pulled back up a little bit and is now kind of hovering around 97.5 cents or so. But we saw this major rally and this major uptrend come out of some Tether FUD, but that Tether FUD has started to die off. And if you'll notice over the last couple of days, I haven't been doing some really in-depth short-term technical analysis, and that's because in times like this, a lot of times technical analysis isn't as important and isn't as valid when you see the market moving in irrational ways like it was. But I believe a lot of that is starting to die off, so I want to bring the technicals back in here and try to get to the bottom of where I believe Bitcoin is going to be moving over the next couple of days. Are we going to be seeing that $6,200 Bitcoin that Net was asking about, or are we going to see Bitcoin break this long-term descending triangle patterns downtrend of resistance coming over the next 48 hours or so? We're going to be discussing that, and we're also going to be discussing some news relating to Fidelity, the fourth largest financial services manager in the world that manages over $7.2 trillion of assets, stepping into the cryptocurrency market, guys. We've already had Bakkt being announced this year, and now we have something called Fidelity Digital Asset Services being announced, and we're going to be getting into that at the end of this video. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and get right into that video, guys. Bitcoin is currently trading at around $6,430, as we can see over here on the right of your screen, and that's a very interesting number because that puts us right below this long-term descending triangle pattern, this downtrend of resistance right here, rather. This is a very important downtrend of resistance. I'm not going to overstate it, or I'm not going to state it again because I've talked about it so much recently, but right now we do see Bitcoin coming up here and getting resistance at it. Yesterday I had drawn this uptrend of support right here, and I was wondering if that was going to help us push through and break above this downtrend of resistance. Looks like that didn't happen. We broke bearish out of it, and we're staying below this long-term downtrend of resistance. And of course, that's what you would expect to happen in these situations, because this little uptrend of support right here is far weaker than this long-term descending triangle pattern's downtrend of resistance that has been in play for literally about 10 months now. So of course, that was something that we would expect. You can kind of redraw this right here and say, okay, well, maybe we're going to get another bounce up and we're going to break through it this time. Time will tell on that. I'm not totally convinced. Anyway, let's come back out to the day and let's do the crypto market recap before we get into the main portion of today's video. Let's give CoinMarketCap a little refresh here, and across the board, Bitcoin is trading below $6,600. As I talked about in yesterday's video, if you're interested in my take on the Bitcoin market from yesterday's perspective, you can watch that in the top right. But I talked about in yesterday's video about how Bitcoin's average price action across all exchanges was hovering around $6,600. Now that's pulled back down to around $6,500. If you're wondering what I mean by that, what we see right now is that we see there's a discrepancy on Coinbase's Bitcoin and Bitfinex's and many of the other cryptocurrency exchanges Bitcoin. As you can see on Coinbase, we're trading around $6,400, and on Bitfinex, we're trading around $6,700. If you want to know why I'm using the Coinbase chart instead of the Bitfinex chart like I normally do, and why there's a discrepancy there, like I said, watch yesterday's video. It basically comes down to the fact that Bitfinex is trading over US dollar Tether and Coinbase is trading over actual US dollars. Anyway, Bitcoin's daily volume is hovering around $4 billion. Not exactly an unhealthy or healthy day for Bitcoin. We've seen daily volume hover around this level quite a lot over the last several months, so nothing really to write home about there. We are down about 1% over the last 24 hours, but that really hasn't had a major impact on the technicals, so that's really not that big of a deal either. One thing I do want to talk about is the altcoin market, though, because we do see a little bit of green, but overall not a ton. We see 0x, Odyssey, Nano, and BAT being up over 10%. BAT's a very nice project. I'm a big fan of BAT. And a lot of these projects are very good projects. I'm liking seeing them being up here. But if we scroll down here, we see that there is some green in the cryptocurrency markets. We definitely see maybe 20, 30, 35 altcoins that are in the green, but we see more cryptocurrencies that are in the red, Digix DAO and Eternal Token being one of them. Like I've said in a couple of previous videos, Digix DAO is one of those examples of an altcoin that I would be looking at trading, partially because it is so heavily volatile. That is a point in its favor. One thing that is not a point in its favor is the fact that it has extremely low volume at around $3.5 million. Digix DAO would be very happy if it had $3.5 billion. So if a lot of people ask me this, so I'm going to explain this a little bit. Again, one thing that I look for when I'm looking for, the two main things I look for, well, actually three things I look for when I'm looking for an altcoin to trade is I look for how volatile it is. Digix DAO is clearly a very volatile altcoin. I look at volume to kind of get an idea for how stable and how easily manipulated the market is. This would be a point against Digix DAO because it'd be very easy for a pump and dump group to come in here and throw Digix DAO all over the place. And the third thing I look for is fundamentals in case I want to roll over a bad trade into my investing portfolio. Do I want to hold this altcoin for the long term? Those are three of the main things I look for when I'm looking for an altcoin to trade. I know I get that question a lot, so I go ahead and throw cover that here at the beginning of the video. I don't believe there's much else we wanted to cover other than the fact that most top cryptocurrencies are in the red today. We see Cardano being down, or excuse me, we see Cardano, Stellar, and XRP being up. Stellar's actually up about 5.8%. Stellar's had a very good quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4 here in 2018 so far. With all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and get on to the main portion of today's video. Now, I will be perfectly straight up with you guys. If you go back into yesterday's video and you watch that video, I believe what I said is that I believe there's about a 60, 70, 80% chance we're going to be breaking this downtrend of resistance. Now, I still think that there's more than likely a chance that we're going to break that, but I'm going to retract about 10% of that. I'm going to say about a 50 to 60 to 70% chance that we break this long-term descending triangle pattern. I know that's a wide range, but it's hard to be exactly precise in these things, guys. This is technical analysis and chart reading after all. I do think that it's more than likely that we're going to break this, but I want to also make the point that I'm not totally convinced that we're going to break it right now, because we had a very good opportunity to break it just a little over 48 hours ago when Bitcoin did initially pump up above here, partially due, in fact, partially because of this Tether FUD. We saw Bitcoin pump quite a lot. And then after that, we came down here, and we had this little uptrend here that was pushing us against this long-term descending triangle pattern's downtrend of resistance. That is a mouthful. And we saw Bitcoin testing this a couple times, and we haven't gotten above it so far. Now, there's a very good possibility that we get above this downtrend of resistance in the next 24 to 48 hours. At this point, though, I'm not totally convinced, and I'll show you why I'm not totally convinced. The fact is, what we see right now actually is that most exchanges, especially the ones that are trading over US dollar Tether, are well above this long-term downtrend of resistance, but still Coinbase is being that little just annoying person that's in the group and just doesn't want to do anything fun. I think I used the analogy in yesterday's video that you have a group of friends that want to go out and partying, and Coinbase is your one friend that says, no, I don't want to go party, I want to go home and play Skyrim, and they're just sitting at home not doing anything and ruining the night for everybody. That's exactly what Coinbase is doing, because Coinbase is sitting here below this downtrend of resistance, not wanting to get above it and kick off a new rally like the rest of the cryptocurrency exchanges are, like we're seeing on Bitfinex. And that's kind of a concerning thing, because Coinbase has a lot of volume on it, guys. Coinbase is by no stretch of the imagination a small cryptocurrency exchange. It is in fact a very significant cryptocurrency exchange, and one important chart that we need to be looking at. If Bitcoin were able to get above this downtrend of resistance, that'd be very good, like it already has on Bitfinex. One thing you also have to keep in mind, though, of course, is that Bitfinex's Bitcoin is only above this downtrend of resistance because of Tether manipulation, guys. But like I said, in these cases, it doesn't really matter why you got above this level. What matters is that you did get above this level, and on Bitfinex we did. So with that in mind, let's go back to the original question from Net Alibaba. Will we see a $6,200 Bitcoin again after the Tether FUD? Like I said, that's a pretty good question, and the reason that we're making this video based on that question is because it's a pretty good question. And I think he has a good point here, because $6,150 to about $6,200 represents this level right around here. We would see Bitcoin pull back down here if Net Alibaba's prophecy comes to fruition, and that wouldn't exactly be a bad thing in my opinion. We've seen Bitcoin come up here and test this downtrend of resistance over and over and over and over again this year, and in fact we've seen it test it a lot in the last couple of months, and we haven't gotten above it. I'm not convinced right now that there's that we're definitely going to get above it. I'm not going to say with 100% certainty that we're going to get above it. There's definitely a very good case to be made that we pull back down to this uptrend of support and then break out of it again. And there's also, guys, a very good case that this uptrend of support right here, the one that defines Bitcoin's tendency to make higher lows here in the last 3 months or so, there's also a very good case to be made that that gets broken. There's a very good case to be made that we go down to $6,000. Now, with that said, I'm not rescinding what I said earlier in the video. I do still think that there is more than likely I do still think that we're more than likely going to be getting above this downtrend of resistance. Although what I am talking about is I'm not totally convinced it's going to happen in the next 24 to 48 hours. With that said, the reason that I do think we're going to break bullish out of it leads into what we're talking about in the rest of this video, and that would be the fundamentals of Bitcoin, guys. Remember what I talked about earlier on in the video. What do I look for when I'm looking for altcoins to trade? I look for volatility, I look for volume, and I look for fundamentals. Fundamentals is a very big part of that, especially when you get higher up in these altcoins. The higher you go up the list, when you're up in the top 10, fundamentals are really important. Not necessarily for intraday trading, but they're very, very important if you're going to be swing trading, for example, especially if you're investing. And they're also extremely important in Bitcoin. I've drawn this chart 100 times, if not more. Bitcoin's price action is going down. Fundamentals are going up. We're going to fill in this gap sometime, and that time is coming. And one clear example of that is the news that we're talking about in today's video, this news coming out of Fidelity. Leading financial services corporation Fidelity Investments announced on Monday the launch of a new company called Fidelity Digital Asset Services LLC. The firm explains the company will offer enterprise quality custody and trade execution services for digital assets, commonly referred to as cryptocurrencies, to sophisticated institutional investors such as hedge funds, family offices, and market intermediaries. That's one thing we want to get out of the way first and foremost before we dive into the rest of this content, is that this exchange, or this service that they're providing, perhaps I should say, is not directed at retail investors yet. This is directed at institutional investors and these other types of investors, which they have listed here before you. The services offered will be in these three areas: institutional grade custody, trade execution, and dedicated client service. The custody service will provide a secure, compliant, and institutional grade omnibus storage solution for Bitcoin, Ether, and other digital assets. What I like here is that they're not just including Bitcoin. We see Ethereum and other digital assets. Now, of course, these don't have a name here, but we do see that Ethereum is being included in this, and I'm very, very happy to see that, because they're not just directing this only at Bitcoin. I wouldn't want to see just Bitcoin be the only thing available to these institutional investors, because the altcoin market represents about 46% of the 47% of the cryptocurrency market. It's not just Bitcoin here, guys. We need to get the altcoins involved in this as well. We're going to skip down here a little bit to what Abigail P. Johnson says. Fidelity Investments Chairman and CEO Abigail P. Johnson first revealed her firm's crypto plans in May of last year. She said at the time, "I love this stuff and what the future holds. I'd like to think that huge new markets and products will be built on these open platforms," and I could not agree more, Miss Johnson. The firm began researching cryptocurrency and its blockchain incubator in 2013. It has experimented with crypto mining and has integrated with Coinbase to allow customers to see their crypto balances on the Fidelity website. In 2017, Fidelity Charitable, a public charity, received $69 million in crypto donations, and that goes to show, that kind of proves how important crypto is in the realm of donations. Actually, a lot of times when you see a lot of charities, they're receiving a lot of cryptocurrency donations, and that's just another one of these things I'm talking about, where the cryptocurrency space is continuing to grow. There may be a lot of people that have left the market, but overall the blockchain space is still doing very well, guys. The blockchain development going on behind the scenes hasn't really slowed down all that much. It's continuing to grow, and a lot of the use cases continue to grow. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and the blockchain industry and the community that we have here is continuing, if not continuing to grow, is still very strong. There are a lot of diehard crypto fans that aren't going to go anywhere just because Bitcoin entered a bear market. In Monday's announcement, Johnson commented, "Our goal," and this is really important, guys, "our goal is to make digitally native assets such as Bitcoin more accessible to investors." Guys, let me repeat that. With assets under administration of $7.2 trillion, Fidelity's chairman says, "Our goal is to make digitally native assets such as Bitcoin more accessible to investors. We expect to continue investing and experimenting over the long term with ways to make this emerging asset class easier for our clients to understand and use." And that is huge, guys. We see ICE announcing Bakkt, and Bakkt is coming literally next month. Fidelity is announcing this service, Fidelity Digital Asset Services. These are very, very big players in the traditional financial system, in traditional finance, and in stock markets and equity markets, etc., etc., etc. We see these companies. They're very, very big companies, guys. We've talked about institutional investors sitting on the sidelines, and they're not just sitting on the sidelines, by the way. They're already here. We can see this is a good example of that. We can see that Bakkt is coming. We see potential Bitcoin ETFs in the future. We see a lot of we see the fundamentals improving, and improving in a very big way, guys. And I don't think that's going to slow down anytime soon. If these companies are coming in when we're in a bear market and we're retraced 66% from all-time high on Bitcoin, imagine what they're going to do when Bitcoin kicks off a new bull run and continues going way past $20,000 up here to $100,000 plus. There's a lot of room to grow in this space, guys, and if you stick around with it and you start investing now, you're going to be glad that you did. Do not miss the hype train, because the hype train is going to come back, guys. It's going to come back in a big way, and we're going to see another December-style rally here in Bitcoin coming in the next 2 years or so. I do believe that that is the case, and I do believe in Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and the blockchain industry in a very big way for the next 5 to 10 years. I think we're at the ground floor of an emerging market, like they talk about here on this website, or excuse me, on this news article, and like Fidelity believes. I believe that this is going to be very, very big, and I do believe the next bull market is going to dwarf anything that we've ever seen before in the history of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Tell me in the comments section down below if you agree with what I've talked about in today's video, or do you disagree? Do you think that there are not actually institutions sitting on the sidelines waiting to throw their money in with Bitcoin? Do you think that this is all fake? I want to know your opinions in the comments section down below, guys. As you can see here, I do read every single comment. If you get this little heart right here, I'll go ahead and talk about this. If you see this little heart show up on your comment, if you have on mobile, you'll get a notification that I heard your comment. That means I did read your comment. I don't get to respond to every single comment, guys. I read literally over 100 comments every day, and some of you guys leave very long comments. I do try and read every single one of them. If I leave you a heart, that means I did read your comment. So definitely consider dropping a comment and also dropping a like and subscribing to the channel if you enjoyed the video. Also, if you're interested in being part of the notification squad, click the notification bell and you'll be notified every time a new video goes live. Also, if you're interested, I got this link to this actual website. I've been doing research on this anyway, but the link for this came from the bot that we have in the Discord server that actually posts news automatically in the auto news section of the Discord server. So if you're interested in that, click the link to join the description. Click the link to join the Discord server in the description down below. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.